Hey everybody. Okay, assignment 3. All right, before we get to the assignment, I have some business to cover. This is just a short list of things I want to talk to you about in terms of how we're doing the class and stuff, okay? Thing 1, in no particular order. Thing 1, it is my intention, and I feel like I'm being successful at responding to everything that's being posted in the class. If you have posted something and you have not heard back from me within a reasonable amount of time, which would be a couple, 3 days, let me know. That just means it's gotten lost in the feed somehow and I just missed it. I don't think that's happened, but it could be that it has happened in a way that I'm not aware of. Typically, I've been working on the class early in the morning. I've been getting back to people in general, I think, within about 24 hours or less. But give me a couple days to be sure. And then if you haven't heard back in a couple days, let me know and I will make sure to respond to whatever it is that you posted. Okay, thing 2, there was an article I posted a couple days ago announcing a change in our procedure around commenting on other people's posts. And I want to go through that here as well, just to make sure you understand what I'm asking for here. This is it's an important thing for me that everyone understands because it involves making a shift that is relates to the safety in the environment in the class, and I want to make sure that we maintain a safe environment while opening up some possibility for more fluid conversation. Okay, so what I said originally, and I realize I have caused some confusion in saying that's the way I did. What I said originally is I don't want people to comment on other people's posts. And what I meant when I said this, I don't want people, essentially, this is what I said in the article, to get into other people's business. Or to say it another way, I don't want people to bring their conditioning into these relationships within the class. I want the class to be free of conditioned relationships so that everybody has the freedom to share and and feels safe enough to do that. Okay? So particularly, I want people not to be giving other people advice, to be using shoulds, or really trying to influence them in any way. At the same time, I do want people to be reading other people's posts and seeing what arises for them and sharing from that. For example, in the article I used the example of depression. I'll think of something else. How about, let's say I'm talking about I have a conditioned need to be like the right person, to be good and be the right person. And, I'm talking about how I was conditioned in this way, and here's how that manifests for me in my life, and here's how I'm working on it. And let's say you come along and you read that, and you're like, wow, that's me too. I also have that going. So what I want you, in that case, what I want you to not do is to tell me what I need to do in order to fix my problem, But what I would love it if you would do is if you would post something that says, when David said such and such about needing to be the right person, here's what came up for me. I also have that. And here's what I see about that and whatever you want to say. That actually is really helpful for everybody, and that's what I'm hoping, the kind of conversation I'm hoping to facilitate more and more as we go through the class. All right? So practically speaking, what that looks like is if you got something short, you could actually comment on the other person's post. In general, though, there's some logistical reasons why it works better to start a new post. And so you could start a new post and say, when David said such and such, here's what came up for me, and just start a new post, and I will comment on that. Okay? So let me know if you have any confusions or misunderstandings, or if you don't get what that is. And again, this is an experiment. If it doesn't turn out that this works, then we'll stop doing it. And I want to know if it's not working. So if somebody is commenting on your posts and it feels invasive, it doesn't feel right, it feels like that does interfere with the safe environment of the class, then I want to know that, okay? So yeah, just let me know, and so that I can steer us and make sure that we get back to where we are now if we need to, or adjust this new version of things if that's what's needed. Okay? Sort of along the same lines, this is the next thing, when I get a chance to do it, I'm going to post something about giving me, David, feedback, and about disagreeing with me. And this is something I'm looking at in my own practice right now, actually, and it's come up in relationship to this class. And so I want to share it with you about that. And I also want to make a request of you. And the short version of the request is, or it's really an encouragement, let's say. I would encourage you to offer me feedback and to disagree with me if that feels appropriate to you. I don't want to set things up in this class where I'm some kind of unquestioned authority. I would hate that. I'm doing practice just like you are, and this is my practice. My practice is to be in this role with you as the facilitator of this class, but that is my practice, and I want to know if there's anything I need to know about the way I'm doing that. And so you could do that in a couple ways. You could message me privately if you feel like there's something that I need to know that I'm not aware of. That would be fine. Even better than that, though, is, I think, to just post it publicly. Just put it out there. So it could be, that could look like, hey, David, when you said such and such, that didn't make sense to me. Here's how that seems to me. What do you see? So that would be a disagreement. And I actually love disagreement. I love that because it leads to deeper conversation. It asks me to look more deeply within myself at whatever it is that I said so I can get clear within myself. And it just causes good conversation to happen in my experience. Or you could offer me feedback. You could say, David, when you did such and such, I feel really queasy about that, and here's why. Now, again, you want to own your experience. That's what we're trying to do. That going back to the previous thing in terms of commenting on other people's posts, that's a way of talking about that. We want to be owning our experience, not projecting onto other people's experience. Okay? And just, to be aware, that's a great thing in general. It's a great life skill to have in every kind of relationship. So even with me, it would be ideal if you would own your experience rather than projecting onto me. But you can tell me what your experience was of whatever it is that I said or did, and so that I know that, and then I will respond. And if there's something, I might say, good point. I didn't see that. Thanks. And here's what I see about that. Or I might say, well, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but here's where I was coming from, and here's how I was looking at that. So I could explain myself. And again, that creates a deeper, better conversation between all of us. So again, I'll post that either in another video or in an article as soon as I can get to it in the next few days. And I'll add some more to that in terms of why I'm looking at that in terms of my own practice, in case you're interested. Okay, let's see what else. Just to remind you, there are some live groups happening on Zoom on Sunday nights and Thursday nights. There's one happening tonight. There's no connection between those groups in this class. Like, I'm not expecting, because you're in the class, that you're in those groups. But just to be aware, those are available, and you can, be on those groups and can process live about what's going on in the class or whatever else you want to in your life. If you are not involved in that, you want to be, just send me an email, and I'll get you the information that you need. Let's see. I mentioned at the beginning of the extra credit assignment, but just to make sure you're aware that originally I said I was going to post assignments on Tuesdays and Fridays, but it's feeling like that's too fast. That doesn't give people enough time to do the assignments and to respond. I don't want people to get behind and get frustrated. So I'm just going to put out the new assignment when I feel like it's time for it. And then I'll probably continue to throw in little extra credit assignments like I did the other day, just for people who are up to speed, just so you know. Let me see if there was anything else. Oh, yeah, there was one more thing. I made a video a few days. I just want to draw your attention to that for people who are new to practice or people who are hesitating to participate fully in the class by sharing their experience in the feed. And if you are in one of those two categories or both, you might consider checking out that video because I just offer a few things about that and a bit of support. Okay, very good. All right, let's get on to assignment 3. You're going to need a paper and pen or something to write with for this assignment. So if you don't have that, if you would please pause the video and go get that, and then hit the play button when you are ready. All right, very good. Okay, so the assignments we've done up until now have been guided imageries, and this is not going to be one of those. This is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to give you something to look at and get you to journal about something. And so the way it'll work is I'll ask the question or tell you what to do and tell you what to write about. And then after I've done that, I'll pause. And when I pause, if you could hit pause on the video, please, and then take whatever time you want or need to, do that portion of the assignment and write about that. And then whenever you're done with that, hit play. I'll give you the next chunk, and then I'll stop. You can write about that, and so on until we're finished. Okay? All right. Good. All right, so this is the first part. So I would like for you to do an inventory of the different areas of your life through the lens of the two different ways of being in life that we've been talking about so far in the class. We can be in a place of heart-centered awareness, or we can be in conditioned mind. Now, I get it that those are somewhat artificial distinctions, and you can't really divide things up into two like that. And there's a lot of sort of gray area in between that, and we can talk about that if you're interested in that in the class, about what that is. And it's convenient to talk about it as two separate things, so that's what we're going to do. So what I want you to do is to look at the different areas of your life. So some of the areas might be relationships of various kinds, your relationship with your work, your relationship with practice, your relationship with yourself, and maybe other things that are more particular. Like might want to look at your relationship with a particular person, like your spouse or your significant other. Or maybe you want to look at your relationship with fun and enjoyment, and whether or not you allow yourself to experience these things. Whatever you feel like is kind of relevant in your life. But make sure you include the biggies, like relationship, work, practice, and your relationship with yourself. And so what I want you to do is to start with one and then go through and do just sort of an overarching inventory. You don't need detail for this so much, although if you want to get into the detail, go for it. Take this on to whatever level you want to. But we're looking more for broad strokes more than detail. And see where in this area are you acting from a heart-centered place, and where are you acting from a conditioned place. So for example, let's say the area is relationships. Say, well, in which of your relationships are you able to be yourself and be acting from a heart-centered place? In which of your relationships do you have some kind of conditioned stuff going on that needs to be looked at and worked through? Like that. We're not particularly looking for solutions here. We're just wanting to know, where are we right now with this? Where am I with my relationships? Where am I in my work? And so on. Okay? So it's best to do that with pen and paper. It works way better to get it out there, where you can see it onto the piece of paper, rather than just keeping it in your mind. So if you would, pause the video now, take some time to journal about that, and see what you see. And then when you're done, come back and hit play and get the next portion. Okay, welcome back. All right, now you've looked at where you are in terms of this dichotomy, heart-centered awareness, conditioned mind. Now I want you to look at where are you going. Okay, and the way I want you to get there is to look at your past first. So here's your assignment for this portion. So do, again, broad strokes. You don't need to do detail. Broad strokes sort of overview of your life so far in terms of your development and what you've learned. So think about like the state you were in when you were a kid, and then maybe as a teenager, and then maybe as a young man or young woman, and so on. And what kind of struggles were you going through? What kinds of confusions did you have? What did you learn? And sort of track your progress over time up until this present day. All right. So and again, I mean, you can take that on to whatever degree you want to. I mean, you could spend hours doing that, of course, and really exploring all different kind of things. I'm not asking for that necessarily, but if you want to do that, go for it. Or you could take just a few minutes and kind of do the broad strokes. So get a sense of the past, and then once you've gotten a sense of the past, step back and kind of look at it as a whole and see if you can see the arc that is moving through your life as you have traveled it so far in terms of your growth, particularly your spiritual growth, your growth as a human being, and what you've learned, and extrapolate from that. Like if you were to continue, like let's say your arc is a line, it's a curve of some kind, and you were to continue on with that line into your life as it's coming, where would you expect that to go? So where, given what you've seen about where you've been, where do you feel like you're going in terms of your spiritual development? Okay? Now I know that's a big topic, and so, yeah, just take on whatever chunk feels appropriate in this moment. Journal about that, write it out. You might draw it out even, kind of as a timeline if you want to, and then write what you see, and then then come back to the video and we'll do the next one. Okay, very good. All right, step 3. So this one's simpler to ask. So here's the question I want you to look at. So having seen where you are, kind of in your growth and development, as best as you can see right now, and having seen where you've been and where you're going, what do you see now about what keeps you stuck when you're stuck? When there's not forward movement, when you're not growing and developing, when you're cycling, you're staying in a place of sort of arrested development. What is going on there? What are you holding on to? What keeps you stuck there? What do you need to let go of? Okay? So, again, pause the video if you would when I get done speaking right now, and take some time to explore that, and then come back and take yet another step. All right. Okay, this is the last one. So on this time, what I want you to do is to consider, so having seen everything you've seen so far with the other 3 pieces, and seeing where you're going and what keeps you stuck, what is the next obvious step to take in your development? Where are you headed? And let me actually, this is just occurring to me right now, let me put a parenthesis in here about that word development. I'm not talking about, this is not about self-improvement. It's not we're not trying to be better people, anything like that. And there is, for people who are doing practice and who are being present and paying attention, there is a movement that occurs in life. We do grow and we learn. So I'm not talking about meeting standards and expectations here. I'm just talking about the natural course of progress through life, you might say, that a human being makes who is willing to engage with life in the way that we're talking about in the class. Okay? Okay, so what's the next obvious logical step? What do you need, or to say it another way, what is your work right now? Within that arc the big picture arc that you have outlined for yourself, what is your work right now? Journal about that a bit, and then once you have, ask yourself, for the purposes of this class, what kind of project would you like to take on for the rest of this class as a way to practice these tools that we are talking about in this class and work through something that would be helpful to you? There are a few of you already who I know who have already done that, who have kind of taken on like a side project for the class in terms of their relationship with the class. You could do something like that. It could be, any number of things. It could be like a place, like let's say there's just this obstacle in your relationship with your spouse or your significant other that would be really nice to work through and let go of. You could choose that. Or maybe there's some way you hold yourself back from expressing yourself at work or in other places. Or maybe you don't allow yourself to rest and enjoy yourself in your life, but you're driven in some way. Something like that. So you take it on as a project, and you just kind of keep that in your awareness as we go through. And as we talk about the various things that come up in the class, that can be, you can work through the different topics and the tools and stuff we'll be working with in the class in that area, and just see what happens. See if you can make some progress and have the experience of using the tools in a really tangible way, basically. Okay. So once you have figured out this last part and have written about it and everything, and once you've decided on something you want to practice with, then what I'd ask is that you, if you're willing, to share about whatever you want to share about this in the public feed. There's a lot to this. I put in something about being concise at the beginning. I'm not feeling so worried about that right now. Don't write a novel, but be as concise as you can. But share what you want to share. I don't expect you to share about every portion of this thing that we've just gone through together. That would be a lot. But whatever is most interesting to you, or whatever you want to put out there for feedback from me, or for comments from me, and for other people to benefit from. So share about that in the feed, and then start working on your practice assignments you have chosen. Where we are so far is that we've been looking at the difference between heart-centered awareness and conditioned mind. And we've talked a lot in the class, in the comments of the class, about conditioned mind, about stories, about emotion, these different aspects of conditioned mind and how it all works. So using what you have gleaned from the class so far, practice letting go of whatever it is that you're trying to let go of, and coming back to a heart-centered place. Okay? All right, very good. Thank you. That was a lot. Thank you for hanging in there with me. I very much look forward to hearing what you see in the class. Take care, be well, and more soon.